Tonight's headlines are brought to you by McDonald's.
Good evening, Commonwealth, and thanks for watching the Channel 2 News. I'm Sally Limis. Let's take a look at tonight's top stories. An elementary public school goes into lockdown after a threat to its campus. Also tonight, Senators 1 BGRT owed to the CNMI collected. And what is the current state of IPI? Let's check it out. In sports, more knowledge on athletics from a seasoned coach. Stay with us, we have these stories and more up next here on the Channel 2 News.
Everybody feel it come around with the rhythm, it's a sound. If you feel it come around with round. Everybody feel it come around with the rhythm, it's a sound. Everybody get down when we give it to you. Everybody feel it come around with everybody in the park. 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 Everybody round.
This burger looked at one slice of melted cheese and said, more cheese. It looked at pickles and said, also onions. It wanted to be more than hot. It wanted to be juicy. This is the Quarter Pounder with cheese. If you thought one napkin for the Quarter Pounder with cheese was enough, it's not enough.
Half a day to the WAMI and good evening, Commonwealth. Today is Wednesday, February 15, 2023. The Oleai Elementary School went into lockdown today following a threat report to the police. According to the CNMI Public School System, at about 11 a.m., Oleai Elementary School initiated a school lockdown after a threat to their campus. The Department of Public Safety was called to assist the threat and provide patrol, guidance, and further investigation of the situation. The all-clear signal was given at 11:17 a.m. PSS states all students and staff are safe. KSPN was told by a source that a parent called police and reported that someone was going to hurt his child, who is a student at Oleai. The parent went to the school and acted in an aggressive manner, demanding to see his child. Our sources say once the parent saw the child was safe and well, he was escorted by police to the psych ward at CHCC, where he voluntarily admitted himself. DPS has yet to confirm this information. The Fiscal Response Team unravels a large amount of uncollected payments to the CNMI government. CNMI senators unanimously adopted a joint resolution on Tuesday requesting Governor Arnold Palacios to collect all business gross revenue taxes owed to the CNMI. Senate President and author of the resolution, Edith Dillon Guerrero, says the legislation is based on a finding from the Fiscal Response Team.
One of the findings during one of our initial meetings when the administration first took over the government, it was reviewed that there was an audit done for food stamp retailers. and that there is a substantial amount of tax revenues that were actually underreported, which means that they were not collected.
The tax audit report of the Nutrition Assistance Program identifies over $24 million in unreported NAP gross revenues. This figure is a total from 2018 to 2021.
Basically, the resolution is to encourage the governor to task the Division of Revenue and Tax to go out there and start enforcing the law and making sure that we collect all the necessary taxes so that we can collect the revenues of the Commonwealth that is due the Commonwealth.
Delon Guerrero says the fiscal response team is still validating the numbers. One interesting figure to her is a payment for supplemental life insurance.
I sent out an email this morning again to look at certain numbers regarding a payment that was made out of the community disaster loan under the FEMA money for supplemental life insurance to the tune of $4 million. So I am curious to know what payment is that for as a supplemental life insurance payment.
The fiscal response team is comprised of 3 groups: the Senate, House of Representatives, and the Department of Finance. The team is tasked to look and validate all government revenue, expenses, and reimbursements to determine the true fiscal state of the CNMI. After months of no power, what does the inside of IPI Casino look like? Let's take a look. Early this week, several parties inspected the inside of the Imperial Pacific Hotel and Casino area. The visit was organized by the U.S. District Court and involves creditors who are owed money by Imperial Pacific. The casino is closed and has had power turned off to the building for a long time. The area is currently watched by security guards who keep an eye on the assets inside. The security personnel once went close to 5 months without a paycheck, but at present say that their paychecks are coming in on time. One suspect was arrested recently for stealing copper wire from within the hotel. IPI has had a string of judgments against it, including a construction company that said it wasn't paid, workers who were injured on the job, workers who were brought on island and then not paid or housed appropriately, and claims of unfair labor practices. The casino still has some assets, including these multi-million-dollar Swarovski-designed dragons that sit in the lobby of the casino. Local attorney Mike White is the receiver. His job is to oversee the liquidation of assets and pay creditors. These boxes in the lobby are high-tech playing cards made by a company in Japan. A company rep is on island with the goal of getting the cards and several machines that count and shuffle cards back to Japan. The cards won't be reused or sold. They will be destroyed for security reasons. Some of the boxes have some termite damage though, and they are dealing with that issue as they prepare shipment to Japan. What will happen to the building and the business is a question that many residents of the Marianas would like to know. A bond that would have provided some security for removal of the building if it wasn't completed was waived by the CNMI government in the early days of construction. And it appears as the company has not had any takers to come in and take over the project. Destroying the building and removing the concrete could overwhelm the Marpi landfill, and the big question is who would pay for that. Is the structure safe if someone chooses to rebuild is also a question with varying answers. Meanwhile, the company is in arrears to the NMI government for tens of millions of dollars in past fees. The CNMI government is one of the largest creditors. On Monday morning, creditors inspected the things inside that can be sold. We are told much of the furniture is headed for the Caribbean. Imperial Pacific promised to build 2,000 hotel rooms and an integrated resort. They were awarded a sole casino license by the CNMI legislature. All right, coming up, the teching bill seems to be the talk of the town. Let's hear from the other side. Stay tuned.
fast, fun, and easy. That's how your home Wi-Fi should be. So start with an internet plan that fits your budget. Introducing your home Wi-Fi starter pack, also known as WISP. Enjoy up to 25 megabits per second for as low as $35 a month, plus a free router with your wireless subscription. That's hours of movies, games, social media, and more endless fun. Get your Wi-Fi starter pack today only at Docomo Pacific. Better together. Additional conditions may apply.
At one of Saipan's beaches, this mother lays about 100 eggs under the cover of darkness. She hides her nest as best she can and then slowly makes her way back to the ocean. The eggs hatch and the babies head for the sea, where they will face a daily dose of danger. Just 1 in 1,000 will make it to adulthood. Those that do will one day lay their own eggs. Sea turtles are protected under CNMI law. If you see one that is stranded or if you see illegal activity, call the hotline at 287-8537.
Welcome back to the Channel 2 News. The CNMI Department of Commerce is one step away from being granted a huge amount of money that will help many businesses in the NMI. It's called the Small Business Credit Initiative, a program under the U.S. Treasury that will provide capital lending for underserved entrepreneurs. Acting Director of Economic Development Kiyoshi Cody introduced the program to Rotary Club members on Tuesday.
That's a $57 million capital lending program to help underserved minority entrepreneurs attain capital funding that they normally wouldn't have gotten through traditional lending. We're really excited that most of the banking community has signed up to be participants within this.
The idea of the program is to give small businesses a loan through participating banks.
And what separates that from, say, traditional lending is if you have a high-risk borrower, the banks are just going to say no. That's it. There's nothing they can do. With SSBCI, we can contribute up to 50% of the loan. So a bank will be able to say, hey, we've got a typical or we've got a risky borrower, Commerce. If you can offset 50% of this loan, we will assume half the risk if you will take on half the risk. And this should push it more into businesses that normally would just got a hard no.
If approved, U.S. Treasury will give the $57 million in 3 different tranches. $18 million for the first batch, which is expected by the end of February or early March. 3 years later, another $18 million, and then $21 million 6 years down the line.
So they definitely designed a program that we have to move this money as quickly as possible. We're not just going to sit on it.
According to Cody, the program is truly beneficial to the CNMI economy as requirements for eligibility are a bit eased.
One of the pleasantly surprising requirements we found, or I guess you could say not a requirement, was that U.S. Treasury said that there's going to be no citizenship requirement on this program. So unlike SBA, you have to be a U.S. citizen, a green card holder, and go through the hoops. Anyone's open as long as you go through the banks for their underwriting, and 90% of that money stays within our economy.
Cody believes the CNMI is 99% of being approved. They are waiting to hear back from Treasury regarding any concerns this Thursday.
Yeah, we're really excited because the CNMI is just one big underserved area, so everyone's going to be allowed to apply for this.
Local fishing organizations create a petition opposing legislation that would bring back a very controversial and traditional method of fishing. Over 700 members in the community has signed a petition opposing the Teching Bill, a piece of legislation that would re-allow the use of gillnets in Saipan waters. The petition has gained support from several local organizations who expressed their concerns on the bill.
Gillnet is probably one of the worst net fishing compared to a surround net or a pull net. I'm not a fan of pull net also, but certainly worse than a surround net. And that's because it's light. It's a light fishing net. It has small sinkers and very light floaters. So it could easily be pulled by the current. And when those years when we had net fishing, you find a lot of this net stuck up against the corals and rolled up and basically hurting the habitats of the fish that they need within the lagoon.
Diego Benaventi is a member of the Saipan Fishermen's Association and is a familiar face when it comes to the history of the Gilnet banishment.
About 20 years ago, as Lieutenant Governor, the late Tom Pangilinan, who was our Secretary of DLNR, proposed this. And when he did, I called him in. I said, I don't know about this because, I represented Precinct 2 where the Lally 4 boys fish with gillnets. This might not be a good idea. I can tell you now that I feel that that's probably one of the best and the accomplishments that the Babauta Benaventi administration did for the environment and our ocean resources.
Benaventi says destroying the lagoon can also affect the tourism industry.
If we destroy our lagoon, we're destroying our ability to be a destination for more tourists to come to Saipan and the CNMI, right? So it's just a bad idea all around.
James Roberto is a local fisherman who goes out into the waters on a daily basis. He says he's come into contact with illegal net activity and speaks on its effect.
It's a hazard, especially with boaters. It gets caught up in the engines. So our gear break, that's a lot of money to replace propellers and shafts and everything. So I'm against it.
Yeah.
It's hard enough to catch mafuti in the reef with hook and line more if they put out the nets.
The proposed bill includes enforcement regulations and designated areas, times, and places for teching. But these fishermen has very little hope that it will work.
Imagine every day, how many days, how many people set up. It's not gonna make a difference. It's gonna destroy. It's gonna deplete all of our resources. It's gonna break our ecosystem. This law is gonna hurt us more than we're gonna gain. I am totally against it, and I hope the legislature opens their eye and realize that this is not a game.
We're all hearing about the fiscal, I guess the cliff that we're facing right now, and so I just think it's just going to put added strain on resources when it can go to other means as well. So I really have my doubts when it comes to enforcement. Just because it takes a lot of money to enforce it. You gotta patrol this whole coast area. It doesn't make sense.
Author of the teching bill, Representative Danita Yangtamay, and supporters have emphasized that the fish population has grown since the designation of marine protected areas. Roberto believes it's still not enough.
It's been protected for 20 years. The fish do come out, but 20 years ago, there wasn't as much fishermen as it is now. I mean, every day you can pass by and you just see boats, trailers, fishermen everywhere. Back then it's a handful here, a handful there, and that's it. But with the amount of people fishing now, those sanctuaries, for me personally, it's not enough.
The House Committee on Natural Resources is expected to hold public hearings on the bill in the coming months. To learn more about HB 35-5, you can visit the CNMI Legislature website for a copy of the legislation. The petition opposing the proposed bill can be found at change.org/p/no to gillnet fishing in the CNMI. All right, folks, don't go anywhere. We have sports up next.
Need a new phone? Trade in now and get up to $500 off our best 5G devices. Trade in your older phone in any condition and step up to better savings and speeds only our 5G network can provide. Check out our website and catch up on the best mobile experience. Trade in now. Docomo Pacific. Better together.
I'm gonna make you an offer you can't refuse. Bring your friends in for the best night out at Godfather's Bar in Garabin. Sing along to your favorite hits with live music from the Gigolos. Godfather's has daily food and drink specials, like Taco Tuesdays. The best pizza on island every day of the week. Located on Palm Street in Garabin.
Tonight's sports brought to you in part by Tan Holdings through the Tan Su Lin Foundation, making communities a better place to live.
Buenas sports fans.
Athletics involves some of the most competitive sports, such as running, jumping, and throwing. And who else better to learn from than an experienced athlete himself? The Northern Marianas Athletics Identification Camp had 10 individuals participate for Day 2 at the Oleai Sports Complex Track and Field on Saturday. This second training focuses on sprints and hurdles led by Coach Elias Rangamar.
We're doing our talent ID camp on the different disciplines of athletics. Last week we had the middle distance and distance. Today we have the sprints and the hurdles. Next week we have the throws. And then last week we have the jumps. So in athletics they always say it's a run, jump, and throw. Yeah, that's all like every human being does that, you know, like even before sports, that's what people did. They run, jump to get away from animals, you know, predators, and, you know, throw to, you know, catch food or whatever, yeah. So, yeah, basically that's what athletics is.
Coach Rangamar points out the importance and NMA's objective for this training camp.
We're trying to look for talents, most especially the youth. We got a bunch of games coming up. I think next month, March 18th, there's a bunch of schools from Guam coming over. So we're gonna have a friendly meet with Guam. We're trying to see if we can invite Palau or you know, some of the FSM if they can make it as well. But that one, and then we got the Oceania Cup, which involves all the Pacific Islands, and then the micro games after that. So yeah, this is what we're doing is checking for talent, you know. But the camps are more just for these kids to have a perspective of what athletics is all about. Everybody thinks it's all just running, but you know, there's a lot that goes into it, even in the sprints. So that's what the camp is for, just for these kids to have a perspective of how to run, what's the purpose of all the different events and stuff. So, and hopefully they get interested and you know, commit to the program.
And here are the highlights from the second day of the NMA Talent ID Camp.
Hi, I'm Dre, one of the personal trainers here at Goat's Gym, and today we're going to be going over the leg press. Now I have here with me is Vince, and he's going to show you how to execute it properly in 2 different ways. A common mistake that you'll often see is leaving your hands free, either up here or on your lap. I strongly recommend you holding onto the sled and create that tension in the upper body, which then allows you to create more range of motion. So with his current foot placement, he was feeling it on his legs, his quads. Now with a simple adjustment by placing his foot a little higher on the platform and his toes pointed out slightly, he's going to transfer that tension, which was previously on his legs, onto his hamstrings and glutes. Again, he's going to grab onto the sled, creating that bracing effect up here.
And for your KSPN weather report, partly sunny with isolated showers. East-northeast wind 14 to 18 miles per hour with gusts high as 23 miles per hour. Tonight, mostly cloudy with scattered showers. East-northeast wind 10 to 17 miles per hour with gusts up to 22 miles per hour. High 86, low 78, the humidity at 94%. Tomorrow, partly sunny with scattered showers, breezy with an east-northeast wind 17 to 22 miles per hour with gusts as high as 29 miles per hour. High 85, low 78. The high risk of rip current statement is dangerous rip currents on the east-facing reefs of the Mariana Islands through late Sunday night. Rip currents can sweep even the best swimmers away from shore into deeper water. For your marine forecast, a trade wind disturbance is expected to bring showers and thunderstorms to the Marianas waters through Thursday. Combined seas of 6 to 8 feet will build to hazardous 10 feet by Friday. East wind 15 to 20 knots, wind waves 3 to 4 feet, east swell 6 to 7 feet. Sunrise will be at 6:41 a.m., high tide at 1:39 p.m., low tide 9:47 p.m., and the sunset, you can catch that at 6:20 p.m. And there you have it. That is your midweek edition of the news, sports, and weather here in the Marianas. As always, we thank you so much for watching the Channel 2 News. We hope you have a great evening, and we'll see you back on Friday with more.